I have the add MetaMask to HD wallet line and this Yearn line right here. So after doing a little more research into Yearn, we realized that we did not need to add Liquefier into lib in order to add Yearn to the open source web version, which it's really great because we can add Yearn earlier to the open source web version and then start earning some revenue for the DAO and sort of blazing that path. The other piece that we did include there is adding MetaMask to HD Wallet because there are so many users that use MetaMask and it opens up a lot of doors for us. So I made those 2 updates, and that would be the next piece that's worked on after the second round of Fox farming. That would be the next focus for the core engineering team. Also, by adding Yearn, we will be able to easily add other one-sided liquidity opportunities for users as well. Because of that, I did move down the wallet SDK piece, and I also moved down the add Liquefier to lib piece. Willie, do you want to add anything to those details?
Sorry, I was DMing. What was the piece?
Oh, just that how I moved around the MetaMask into HD wallet and Yearn, and then I moved those up and then moved down the wallet SDK and add Liquefier to lib.
Yes, thanks for covering that. There is one thing I do want to mention here that I think will help give everyone some context. One of the big conversations we've been having between product and engineering when we're prioritizing this roadmap is the obvious one of we have this current beta.shapeshift.com, we have the mobile app, and then we're building this new open source version that eventually is going to be the new ShapeShift. It's going to be ShapeShift, and we will need to migrate our existing users at some point over to this new version, right? And so we got a lot of users that use ShapeShift, a lot of assets in orbit, a lot of crypto connected that we don't want to lose, right? But at the same time, the more we can focus on this new version, we think ultimately the more quickly we'll be able to achieve our real vision now, which is this new version. It's not maintaining this old version or necessarily adding features to this old version. Eventually, this old version will go away and be replaced by the new version. So there's been a lot of discussions around that and trying to figure out what's the optimal amount of resources to invest in the existing versions to maintain users and continue attracting users while we build out this new version. And kind of what we are, we're still, I don't want to say anything's concrete yet, but the latest kind of thinking in my perspective is that we are realizing that we can, we always talk about this concept of minimum level of product, right? And so this new version that we're building, it's not going to have all the functionality that the current version has for a bit, right? It's going to take a while to get to parity. But is there a world where we can basically add functionality like MetaMask and Yearn, and then with this existing ShapeShift products that we have, point users to the new version, where they can connect all the same wallets they connect with existing ShapeShift and get functionality that existing ShapeShift does not yet offer. So for example, you could imagine an existing ShapeShift, either mobile or web, we could have an earn section, right? And we already have that earn tab that just points people to farming. This could include the earn opportunities, it could include CTAs. We could still, push a lot of users from the existing apps to the new open source app. They could connect their same wallets. DeFi users especially are not afraid to connect wallets to a number of different apps, right? Like it's very common to just hop between multiple different dApps and connect your wallet to them, especially if it's both branded by ShapeShift and it's a lovable experience, right? As long as they can connect their wallet and have a great experience using Yearn and the new ShapeShift, that's a minimum level product in my book, right? We don't even necessarily need swapping. We are adding swapping. Sorry, it's almost done. But we're actually considering it. It's like, do we really need to have swapping in this new version to consider it a minimum level of product? And we can also point them back to the existing ShapeShift and they can have a great time swapping there. So that's just to help paint some color and why after the latest conversations we've had, we are thinking that as soon as we have MetaMask and HD Wallet and supporting the new version in Yearn, that could very well be an MLP milestone where we could start pointing users there. But we don't have to, right? That's what we're building towards. We can definitely open it up to the community as soon as we have that functionality to start playing around with this new version and get feedback and say, hey, do you guys think that we are ready to start pointing users from current ShapeShift over to this new version with this limited functionality that is they don't have? Or do you guys think that there's, what do we need to do to make this minimum level product that we're proud to start pointing users to? So hopefully that helps paint some more context just with like the logic behind all the thought processes that are going into this roadmap that you guys see.
Thanks, Willie. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts on that piece specifically? I'll take that as a no. Okay. Mr. Nerdhair, it might be easier if you talked about this on stage, but the Mr. Nerdhair's feedback in stage chat is there's some security and keep key stuff that I'd love to do. I don't know if the roadmap is even the right place to consider those, but I thought I'd bring it up. And then there's 5 potential ideas on there. 6 pieces on there. You want to say something, Mr. Nerdhair?
Yeah, sure. So there's these are varying levels of technical detail here, but the part of it is just the question of, well, how do we run keep key stuff? Are we going to do that in a separate work stream? Is that going to be part, even if we did have a separate work stream, would that be part of this roadmap process? And anyway, so there's sort of the meta question of how should non-engineering work streams, i.e. security and keep key, integrate into the product roadmap process. But there's also I think the account V2 thing is probably an important part of the something to get consensus on a vision of. What I see is going forward with our V2 stuff is having an account that is not stored in a centralized database where you log in with an email address and password like we do today, but a system that is more like how iCloud Keychain works or how Circle works, iCloud Keychain or how Signal works, where when you want to pair a new device, you have to authorize it with an existing one. Scan a QR code, press yes on a pop-up window, something like that. That would allow all of our users' keys to be protected by high quality entropy. So they would be more secure than just their password. You'd have to have the password and hack the device to get into the secrets. And you could use IPFS as the back end for storage of all that stuff. I have this concept for an arbitrary key value store that works that way, that can then be plugged into our wallet system. You just store the keys and get them from there. I call the package decent because I have a terrible sense of humor. And anyway, so that's account V2, my sort of elevator pitch for it. I haven't seen a lot of thought so far go into how to handle user accounts in the new universe. So hopefully this will provide some useful direction there. Could be Arweave. I see Koei say that I was thinking IPFS, but really anything content indexed would do. Hardware wallet, the idea for WebAuthn hardware wallet, the idea would be that if we had a desktop app, we could use a YubiKey token to actually encrypt the secrets. It'd be better security than a software wallet, not as good as a hardware wallet, but accessible to people who didn't have anything else. And it would work with like firmware implementations like you'd get on Windows Hello with Windows 10. Isolated wallet for web is a scheme where the browser stores the keys under a separate isolated origin. So if there's some bug in our code, if there's some cross-site scripting vulnerability, the attacker can't make off with the keys. All they can do is send a command to please sign the following message. Please sign the following transaction, and then you would have to confirm that in a pop-up window, sort of like you have to confirm it on a hardware wallet today. It would all be software, but it would be proof against those sorts of attacks.
these all sound super cool, and I understand at least 60%, but we are getting a little bit technical, and I want to just zoom out for a little bit.
No, I'm probably stealing all the. You should stop me.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Nerd. I really appreciate like all the things that you've thought about here. As a KeyKey user, I would certainly love to see this. I think high level, there's just this more macro question around, should the ShapeShift DAO be prioritizing functionality for KeyKey? I think it's a really good question, and I don't yet have the answer to it, right? But it is interesting because right now the ShapeShift DAO does not own KeyKey or anything. There is some indirect benefits, obviously, like if you get a KeyKey, we point you to ShapeShift to set it up. And most KeyKey users use ShapeShift as their primary interface for accessing their crypto. So there's definitely some like overlap, but I think we still need to kind of figure out what the future is for KeyKey. And Mr. Nerdhair, you've been talking to the Foxes that are considering basically like starting their own, like taking over KeyKey and working with the DAO. But are you familiar with those conversations that are happening?
What I believe the ideas are at the moment is that the hardware production and the hardware side of things be outsourced, and the DAO continue developing the firmware for it. I mean, I can get into more detail, but you probably don't want me to. Though the three things that I brought up in detail here, none of those are KeyKey specific. So that's why I mentioned those specifically. I mean, I would like to see something like that account V2 approach be an integral part of our V2 effort. I think it would be useful for people to have a software wallet with good security that instead of just protected via password and stored on their one device. But I don't really know the proper way to even raise that. I mean, I could do a proposal for these specific items, but that seems kind of heavyweight for this.
Well,
anyway, that's why I bring it up. I may be late in the process. I may be in the totally wrong place, but just please educate me on how to present ideas like this and where they should go.
Yeah, no, I think this is perfect because this is this is a perfect question to ask for this group, right? Right now we got to figure out what are the most important things for the ShapeShift engineers and the community to focus on building, right? And for product to help get the specs together and stuff, right? So there's kind of two paths to get something prioritized that we've seen so far. There's this like you can of course always do a proposal for a specific feature, and token holders can decide if they want to allocate funds from the treasury to support that, right? That's always available. But we don't necessarily want to do that for every single feature if we can avoid it. We think, especially for a case like this, like if we can have these quarterly, or whatever the right cadence is, roadmap proposal meetings and get the community aligned on, a batch of different features, that can result in a lot of efficiency gains. So that's kind of the idea here. I think what I'm hearing so far is like, I would just be curious if let's go through the rest of this roadmap discussion real quick, and then if you still want to like make a case for these things being prioritized above the other features that are on the list, you can certainly make that case if you think that it makes sense for ShapeShift engineers to focus on that. What I would say though is like looking at this roadmap, I think that a lot of the features here are very MVP. They're very like necessary core features that I personally think need to be prioritized above just any of those key things. I think EIP 712 is going to be huge for the KeyKey, right? But I think that if we have EIP 712 on KeyKey, but we don't yet have these other things, then we're prioritizing the wrong stuff. It is my personal immediate perspective. But if we go through all this stuff and you still feel difficult, then we can totally we want to give you space to make that case. But
sure.
Hopefully it'll make sense.
I agree on the EP stuff. I think the account V2 might pick up a place on the list, but I will hold off until after we've gone through all this stuff. And goodbye.
Awesome. Also, Chow, I invited ZeroX DeFi Cafe up here too, just to give a little bit more color about kind of our plans for wallet support in the new version. We can do that now, or but I'll leave it up to you. If there's something else you want to go to first, we can talk about that. But DeFi Cafe is ready to speak to the wallet plans at any point.
No, that sounds great.
Cool. Yeah. So we've been having a lot of meetings lately discussing our wallet plan. So to give the kind of background context, we have this library called HD Wallet, which has been open source for a really long time.
Hey, yeah, your volume is very, very low.
Okay. 1 second.
Thanks, Mr. Nerdhair. I was debating if I should interrupt him or not.
Is that any better?
A little louder if you can do. Yeah.
Cool.
Can you make it even louder? It's still pretty quiet.
Yeah, one sec. How about that? Is that too loud now?
That's great.
That's great.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so to give the context, we have this library called HD Wallet, which has been open source for a long time, and we use it in beta.shapeshift.com for the front-end native wallet, and we also use this for the native wallet in the mobile application. This wallet supports a whole bunch of different chains, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litechain, Litecoin, Thorchain, and it also has like adapters to support hardware wallets too. The thing that it doesn't have though is it's effectively headless, meaning it doesn't come with a UI bundled in. And the only UI implementations are on ShapeShift. So we've been having a lot of discussions of how we can take HD Wallet and then add some new libraries we've got called like chain adapters, which are then going to talk to Unchained. And essentially the vision is to be able to have a cross-chain, cross-device wallet and eventually package this up as a browser extension. So just like the de facto standard is across all of these dApps that you see, the wallet's never really integrated into the dApp. It's always a case of BYO wallet, and then you come and connect that. So for most of the ETH ecosystem, that's typically MetaMask that people come along and connect to a dApp. But if we were able to take the existing capabilities of HD Wallet and wrap this up into an extension and give it a UI, we would have this killer wallet which could essentially become the single sign-on for DeFi across any chain, and supporting any other wallet that supports those chains as well, like hardware wallet that is. So that's the long-term vision, but we are starting with, we've got a bounty out, I think, which is on the roadmap. It's shown. That's up on Gitcoin. That was put up yesterday. We've had a few people apply already. So that's going to be our stopgap so that we can have MetaMask support in the new open source version of this. But long-term, we do have that vision of this cross-chain, cross-device browser extension wallet.
So sick. Thanks, DeFi. I can't wait for the ShapeShift extension, and I think it's like so needed. It's so obvious to me that extensions right now, I think a lot of us recognize extensions are the best way. Clearly, the market has shown like they're the best UX for interacting with dApps right now, right? Maybe that will change. We joked about like Alexa wallet SDKs one day, but what's really needed is a cross-chain extension, right? Like it's so obvious to me that we all are here because we believe in this multi-chain future. We're already placing a big bet on that, right? And obviously, in this multi-chain future, you're not going to have like a different extension for every single chain. That's ridiculous. That's just a temporary fad that needs to be overcome. And I can't think of a better project than ShapeShift that's in a good position to overcome that. I guess, and others are doing it. Like, what is it? XDeFi? Is that what it's called? They're kind of trying to tackle that, but in the very, very early stages. And we, in some ways they have a head start, but in other ways we have, years of a head start. We just need to kind of, I think what James is saying too is we're in a place where we need to really, we're re-architecting our system so that we're in a much better position to be able to build all this type of stuff. And the cool thing is that we're building on like 7 years of experience and learnings to design things in an awesome way that's not only great clean code, but is great clean modular code that is very easy for others to come build on top of, which is I think what I'm really excited about.
That's a really good point. Any other layer one that launches, if we architect this correctly, they'll have the incentive to come along and add their own support to this extension. So it basically eliminates the need for other community members to build a wallet from scratch if they could just add their chain support to the extension.
So can you talk about where that extension is on the roadmap, basically, and like what are the things that we need to do to get there, and how soon could we actually have like an extension that users could start connecting to dApps?
So you can see on the roadmap where the cursor is right now around Wallet SDK. So we're kind of approaching this from the inside out. We're taking HD Wallet, which is the actual wallet library itself, and then we're obviously all these wallets have to then talk to the chain. So HD Wallet can do like the offline signing, but these wallets extensions need to be able to, or even an SDK needs to be able to, get information from the chain, such as your transaction history, your balances, and has to be able to broadcast those signed transactions to the chain. So we're starting with the guts of it, so being able to do that in an SDK. And then the extension will be the next step after that, which would be wrapping that SDK in a UI. So we will be kind of dog fooding that SDK ourselves in the new ShapeShift web app, and then the extension will follow after that. In terms of timelines, nothing that we can commit to yet without scoping this out further. But we do have a meeting, I believe, in another 30 odd minutes to continue these discussions.
Thanks, DeFi. That's I'm also really excited about this, and there's chats or reactions in stage chat also saying about the excitement for this. I think Willie said it perfectly, that it seems pretty obvious that having sort of a cross-chain extension is the way to go.
Okay, can I add one thing, Chad, that gets me really excited about this that I want to make sure the community understands, and this relates to the single sign-on for DeFi. So right now, if you go to any dApp and you click Connect Wallet, you get hit with like a whole menu of different wallets. And as a brand new user, you have no idea what the heck Ledger is, what MetaMask is. You don't know what any of this is, right? And that's not an experience that dApp developers want, but they really, we know from talking to them and from being them that you really have no choice but to support all these wallets right now, because there's a ton of fragmentation, right? If you don't support them all, you're cutting out users. But again, this is just like a fad in the evolution of crypto and decentralized applications. I think it's just a matter of time until this menu of wallets gets replaced with a single sign-on, just Connect Wallet. And ShapeShift, again, is in a really great position to do this. MetaMask is already doing this with like Ledger and Trezor, but ShapeShift with HD Wallet that we'll be building in this SDK, we will have support for a number of wallets. And I think when I envision the ideal future experience for connecting to dApps, I see one sign-on button where users, if they don't already have a wallet, they can create a wallet really easily through ShapeShift. We will make that experience awesome, much easier than creating a wallet on MetaMask. Or if they do already have a wallet, they can connect any of these existing wallets through ShapeShift. And the cool thing that we can do to really bootstrap this network is utilize Fox for this. This is obviously like if we can, the dApps that do integrate this can have a great experience. They're not going to be cutting out any users. They can give a great experience for new users and existing users. But as we start to just see the network effects around this grow, that will really just like solidify ShapeShift as the portal to the decentralized universe, which is our vision. That is our mission. And I think we're in a great position to solve that. And if we can use Fox to also help kind of bootstrap these effects and say, hey, like, why would you not want to connect through ShapeShift? Because if you connect to Yearn through ShapeShift, you can earn some additional Fox. Like, we can use Fox as a really great way to help bootstrap these network effects. We've also played around with ideas potentially of like just rewarding the projects with Fox, like directly incentivizing not only the users, but potentially just these projects to say, hey, if you integrate ShapeShift and you're putting revenues with us, we can actually reward you as a project with Fox. We talked about cool ways like in the future we could do this with kind of like developer mining, like just saying allocating a specific amount of Fox to projects that come integrate this ShapeShift single sign-on, and like really kind of trying to bootstrap that network. I think there's some really cool stuff we can do with that, but I think that someone's going to solve that problem, and so I'm excited that we're kind of honing in and focusing on that.
Yeah, I agree. Hold on, sorry, I'm checking on stage chat. There's a couple conversations going on in stage chat about supporting Wallet Connect, and Josh commented that is part of the wallet plan going forward, which DeFi said they're going to be discussing in more detail in 30-ish minutes. Which I think that's great. And then that was it. I guess is there anyone else that has any questions or thoughts or feedback about the roadmap? And knowing sort of so what we've talked about last week and what we talked about this week in regards to what are some pieces that we can do in the short term, and what are some of the pieces that we can do to take our 7 years of experience and build them better going forward. Or any other thoughts on prioritization?
Yeah, I see there's some conversation going on around Wallet Connect. Wallet Connect, at least the V2, is chain agnostic, which is a nice upgrade. I think we're definitely in favor of supporting Wallet Connect really on both sides, like enabling users to connect, through Wallet Connect, any wallet that supports Wallet Connect to ShapeShift, and through this extension, as well as giving ShapeShift users the ability to connect to dApps that support Wallet Connect. I think we're really interested in both of those, but also Wallet Connect still just doesn't completely solve that problem, right? So right now that's why we're seeing a lot of dApps. I don't know any dApps that like only use Wallet Connect as the only way to connect to them. They still often have Wallet Connect just as one of the options next to a menu of other wallets. And again, as a brand new user, you don't know what Wallet Connect means. Come on. So if we're not hearing a lot of ideas, does that mean you guys really like this roadmap? We really wanted to make sure that there was at least clear space for everyone to be able to weigh in. Sorry, my dog's barking. But yeah, I mean, if everyone's on board with it, that's cool too. We can move forward really quickly. But it's really important, I think, that we give the whole community space to weigh in. Mr. Nerdhead, do you still want to make a case for prioritizing those key things like higher on the list, or at least getting them on this roadmap list somewhere?
So not key specifically, but I think the account v2 stuff I was describing is probably worth thinking about at least. So we're going to build. I don't see us moving away from offering users a default software wallet for onboarding. They don't have a wallet. They need to get into DeFi. They press a button and get started. Right. We're going to generate a mnemonic seed. Tell them to write it down somewhere. And then we're going to have to store the seed somewhere. And I see that it's probably a bad user experience to have the possibility either that a user will install the ShapeShift extension or go to the ShapeShift website or whatever on two different computers and press that button and install, end up with two different wallets, or end up with something they can't move off of their own single device without working, knowing some sort of vague technical details. So I think that we need to not just say we're going
considerations
to
there.
I think we need
Mr. Nerdhead. There's certainly some economic considerations there, but that's something that we have planned for, figuring out the details of that. But that is a valid concern for sure.
I don't see it on their map. That's why I'm bringing it up specifically.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's part of the wallet planning sessions that are still ongoing.
If that's where we're going to handle it, that's fine with me. And thank you all for going to my TED Talk.
I laugh every time Mr. Nerdhair says that.
Me too. It never gets old. You should do a TED Talk, Mr. Nerdhair. John just had a great suggestion too, just to pin the Notion link to the roadmap everywhere. I think it's a great idea. On that note too, I guess what are the next steps with the with this roadmap proposal? Now that I know a big step was having this conversation, what do you think comes after this, John?
I'm going to put it into ideation for hopefully community approval, and then once it's in ideation for 5 days, it'll go into snapshot to be voted on.
Awesome. Ooh,
so
also
I think,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so I mean, if people are listening to this call, they don't have any feedback right now, but they do, obviously, please add that feedback into ideation when it's there.
Awesome. And then I guess what happens, once this proposal passes, what happens after that? And when is the next time we'll have the opportunity to see updates on the proposal or suggest updates?
We're going to have product office hours every other Thursday. So it'll start next week. So we'll do a review of the roadmap in that meeting, where people can see updates to it and make suggestions to the product roadmap if they think there's a feature that's not on there, or if features need to be prioritized in a different order. And then as of right now, I'm planning on doing a roadmap review or a proposal every quarter. And then I think additionally, I think it would be great if we also included a review of the roadmap in all Foxes. but again, that's something to coordinate with Tyler. And those I think will be once a month, or that's my understanding, at least as of right now.
That sounds like a great plan. And yeah, I like the quarterly cadence, and I like that, anyone can come to product office hours at any point to still just present an idea. And at any point, even without going to product office hours, any community member is empowered to make a proposal outside of this roadmap. So again, this isn't to say this is the final roadmap and we're committed to this for 3 months and we can't change it. This is just to say, hey, here is the current tentative roadmap. This is what we will be prioritizing unless there are any significant changes. But one of the cool things about crypto and being a DAO is things move quickly, and it's great to be nimble. So I think this is a really great balance, and I'm really excited to start getting the product office hours going.
Yep. And I think also, obviously, people can't make it to product office hours. We're available in product public chat as well, which I didn't mention previously. But always feel free to reach out if you have an idea there.
Awesome. Dopefish just suggested in the stage chat, gas fee warning being more of a priority would be nice. This actually just brings up a really great question too. What about things that are pretty small? Like they're not a whole epic, especially the really, really small things like we used to do in design QA. How do those fit into the roadmap, if at all? And what's the process for getting those things prioritized?
That's a great question. We haven't fully discussed ideas for or how we want to do design QA, but I guess my initial thoughts are that I think design QA it's a really good. So in the before times, we had a meeting called Design QA where we would be able to tackle some quick and small changes to either the mobile app or the web app, and it would alleviate some of that stuff from the engineering team. So I think it was really great for that. I think going forward, this could be really great actually also for I don't know who do it as a meeting or potentially, but if there's a certain ones that can be like a quick win or something that, like I know right now in GitHub, there's a tag that says, it's something like
good first issue.
Yeah, thank you. Good first issue. Or like if there's something that's along those lines, that could be something that like a community member could pick up outside of the engineering work stream.
Oh, I love that. That is something that we didn't quite have that ability at ShapeShift to do that easily. But DeFi Cafe, what do you think about some things like that? Like for instance, showing a warning for a high gas fee. Just making bounties for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in the current climate, being NFT season with gas fee spikes and things like that. That's absolutely something we could do. And bounty that as a feature is a nice to have in the UI.
Yeah, I wonder too, this is a great question and something that I think we can figure out a really good process that is separate from the whole prioritization roadmap for these small things and make it really easy, ideally, for anyone in the community to suggest these things and ideally upvote. We kind of have this right now with Hello Next. I'll go ahead and post a link to this feature requesting that we use for ShapeShift. Maybe something like that, at the, obviously not wanting to add an extra tool, but this is one that is already live. So maybe we adapt this. Maybe we figure out a way to use Notion or some of the other existing tools. But I love that idea. Just some way for anyone to be able to suggest stuff just like that, like a gas fee warning. Letting people vote it up and then making it so that product or even community members can come through and just really quickly spec it out, create the mockup, get a bounty approved, and then make it so that anyone in the community can pick that up. That sounds freaking awesome. So,
absolutely. And as the maturity improves across all of the open source code bases and we have more of a established architecture in place, the whole bounty process will become a lot easier when it's just like a very kind of compartmentalized piece of work that we can tightly define and have nice mock-ups for it, and then just pop it up on Gitcoin, and we should be able to scale the bounty process really well from there.
That sounds awesome. So yeah, let's use that. Let's try and make that gas fee warning one of the first things that we try to put through that process, in addition to the other bounties that you guys have already been doing. And then thanks for the suggestion, Dopefish, and community, stay tuned for just a way to really easily be able to suggest these smaller improvements. Also, I'm open to maybe doing design QA too. Maybe we'll bring that back. That was a really fun meeting that we did, that just the product team did. For those of you guys that know Beard, we also have Deval now on the product team. They're both these what we call unicorns, where they're both really badass developers, but they also have a really good design eye, and they're great at specifically live coding. Beard, we would basically do these meetings twice a week, or maybe sometimes we do it once a week if we were too busy. But we would basically just like have a small group of product designers and unicorns like Beard and Duval, and sometimes Jam would join. Some of just the really talented front end devs. And we basically just like really quickly go through and just make polishes, right? Sometimes when you're moving quickly and building features, they don't always look pixel perfect, quote unquote, or like exactly like the mockups. And so design QA was a really great opportunity for us to just go through. It was always fun too. It was one of the most fun meetings. We're hanging out, we're eating lunch. Beard's just like cranking out these design improvements in real time. So we'd always just have like a prioritized list of like the small polishes that we wanted to make. And that was a really great way for us to be productive and get stuff done without having to go through the whole like bureaucracy of Kanban, which in most cases is fantastic. But when you're trying to make 6 changes in an hour, it can be better to design changes where it's good to have a whole group looking at it together. We found those design meetings to be really valuable.
Yeah, it was a really quick iterative process, which was really great as well. If Beard or someone needed some quick feedback, it was a great way to do that. But yeah, I think that's something we can talk about with Diggy. She's up for it. See your thoughts on it? Cool.
Does Diggy dig it? Yeah, sorry.
Let's see. Does anyone else have any other thoughts or questions? I'm taking silence as a no.
Here's a question. What about the things like that are like the per protocol proposal, for instance, YAP proposal that we heard from earlier today? Some of those are not included on the current roadmap. Okay, so they're just a little bit further down. Cool.
Yeah, and I think I think it was in stage chat. You commented earlier that as things go down, the further things go down, the less exact. They're less exact. And so I have perp. I actually so I have perp on there. I don't have YAP. I need to add YAP, but I have those on there. Even if they are a separate or a separate proposal, because in case there's some sort of like engineering help that's needed, at least we're aware of what's going on. But if there is a different team that's working on it and there is some engineering help, then obviously those things can be adjusted as needed when different teams start working on them. I think it's helpful. I mean, if people disagree with this, please let me know, but I think it's helpful to see all those different pieces that are potentials that are out there.
Totally agree. And also think too, I hope just another way to think about all this, right, is that I think product workstream's goal is to get the community aligned on a roadmap and then really try to stay ahead of engineering when it comes to the UI UX designs, the feature specs, having that all ready to go. Another reason we like to do that is that the more time we can be ahead of engineering, the more time we do have for like user testing. Whereas if we're scrambling to get feature specs and mocks ready to go, we unfortunately oftentimes have to sacrifice doing as much user testing as we would like to do. And it's so valuable for us to just be able to do get a little bit of user feedback and iterate on that before we just go straight to development, because it's much easier and cheaper to make those changes earlier on in the development cycle, ideally even before developers have started working on it. So that's kind of our goal here. The hope ideally is that as we get more of the foundation in place and grow more of the community, we'll be able to work on a lot of different things at the same time, and that any developer ideally or any group of developers will be able to come in and take on these bounties. Of course, engineering workstream and stuff will still have the final say of when these things get merged and when the bounty's been achieved. But hopefully these things, especially the features that are getting incentivized by these other projects, right? We've got Yearn putting up 100K to integrate them. Putting up 60K in Fox tokens to bounty the integration. Osmosis putting up, I think it's worth like over 300K right now to sponsor this integration. Those especially, I think, I'm very curious how soon we'll be able to at least have like the feature spec and the designs ready and have it at the point where a developer group outside of our core development team will be focused mostly on these features higher up on the roadmap. At least open it up so that maybe even members of the perp community, for instance, want to come in and take on that bounty. Just wanted to throw that out there. because I feel like I'm probably not the only one who's thinking about that.
Yeah, I think that's a good good way to think about it. All right, cool. If there aren't any other thoughts or requests, I thought this was a great conversation. Thank you for, I mean, I thank everyone for attending, but also thank you to anyone who's had any suggestions. Mr. Nerdhair, Dopefish, and I think keep an eye out for this in ideation, and keep an eye out for this in either design QA or bounties for small things that we can do in the UI to alleviate some things like high gas fees or high gas fee warning.
Thanks, Chad. Thanks, community. Thanks, DeFi Cafe.
Thanks all.
Thank you all for listening.